I'd like to call to order the Health and Human Service and Records and Public Safety Committee meetings of Wednesday, November 8th. The time is 3 o'clock. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to the next item, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll adopt the agenda.
Support Nard.
Motion and support by Romano and Nard. Please call the roll, or please vote. Old habits, hard to break.
Old habits.
Glad to hear someone else's similar problem.
Next, thank you.
Who am I?
Next item on the agenda is motion to approve item 4A and 4B, which is the minutes.
So move, Hall. Support, Perna.
Motion by Haw, support by Perna. Please vote.
Thank you.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to public participation. At this time, this is the first opportunity for public participation, and those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes have the option to speak on anything on today's agenda. There will be a second opportunity for public participation at the end of the meeting where you can speak on any issue. Hello, how are you?
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Salyers, the Vice Chair for the Veteran Services, and Harold and Don and all you people that have been around a little while. Pat Daniels says hi. Okay. Anyways, I'm here because I've had a little concern about people talking about at these meetings about our budget and us dipping into our fund balance more than normal. Well, we've put out a lot of money on advertising to get veterans to finally come in and ask for help. And I got to tell you that we used to get all the repeat people. They would come in and you'd say, okay, yes, a history of them, and we'd have a history. Now we're getting so many people that are brand new because of the signs and the advertisements that we have done. And I want you to know that it's actually working out very well, and we're helping a lot of people. But over the last several months, we've had to dip into the fund balance twice. But because we're really taking care of our veterans. And, you know, Veterans Day is coming up right around the corner, and that's what it's all about. That's what our Veterans Millage is about, and I want you to know that we're taking care of our veterans. No one's getting anything extra. We're doing what we can, and it's costing a little more because we're advertising, and the people are finally coming in. So, just letting you know, a lot of new people are coming in. Does anyone have any questions on that?
We're not allowed to.
We're not going to lie.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted you guys to know that Laura Reeves is doing a great job. And we'll see you guys later, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Does anyone else wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll close the public participation and move on to presentations. And we will start off with Laura from Veteran Services to give us our third annual quarter report. Oh, can I get a motion to receive and file?
So move.
Support by Nard, or motion by Nard, support by Haw.
Ready? Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, so this is for the end of September. The one thing that Mike Salyers mentioned was the County Assistance Fund, which is number 11. So in just this last quarter, their committee spent over $13,000 assisting veterans with emergency needs. To total year-to-date, it's $137,000. So that's why we dipped into the fund balance. They continue to help people, and it is all unique. First-timers come into the table asking for help, and they're just not asking for a shut-off of $400. They're asking for a shut-off of $1,000, $2,000. Oh, it's already shut off. There's no water, there's no electric, there's no heat. And they found that we could possibly assist them. So that's why that fund balance, or that balance, is going up and up and up. One other thing I wanted to note is all the grants that got awarded or are now in all my grants from other outside agencies are all fiscal year. So the IRS grant was approved by the IRS. The United Way grant was approved yesterday. That's 10,000. That's on your agenda for next month to, so I can do a budget amendment, so I can receive that new grant, because that's a brand-new grant. That 10,000 United Way grant is for special needs and emergency needs for veterans. And it was a, what do you call it, invitation-only grant. So I was asked to apply, and only 10 organizations were allowed to apply. So I'm gonna spend it on emergency relief, because that seems to be my biggest need at this moment. The MVAA grant was awarded, and that's the 426,000 grant. And right now, I just want to catch a breath, because that's all in September. And once we get Workday working and we can do our reports and I can see what we've got, which is a work in progress with everybody, then I will have a great idea of, okay, this is where we're at, this is where we need to be, and what do we have left for the end of the year for my millage money? So other than that, I just wanted to point out that we see about 1,660 veterans per month, whether they walk in the door, come to our office, or come to our outreach. And before the pandemic, it was 650. So we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're reaching out. Our advertising is working. Sometimes they all come in at the same time. Like in August, they all came in at the same time, and we did over, nationwide, we did over 1 million claims to the VA just in August because of the PACT Act. So any questions?
Yes, Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
You mentioned you had $10,000 grant for special need. What was it, special needs? That grant was for a specific reason, for a specific need. What was the need for that $10,000 that you can utilize it for?
It is for emergency relief. So that's going to be for the, what we call the special need category under the old rainbow screen with our old budget reports. The category is called special needs, which is our emergency relief, which is the shut off, the car repairs, what we call emergency relief for veterans.
Okay, you mentioned car repairs.
Mortgage, car repairs, rent. Let's see, they can ask for anything. Whether the committee approves it or not is a different story, because what they look at is their complete emergency need, and if giving them a grant will resolve their need, and they would be able to pay it the next month, that kind of thing. So people ask for all kinds of things.
Doesn't go very far for $10,000, does it?
No, I probably will have it spent within a month. I already know that.
The other question I have is the Mr. Sellers, I think.
Mike Salyers, yes.
Mike had mentioned that all the advertising we're doing is paying off, and you're having a lot more veterans come in. Do you have an actual count? And this thing, when you said 1,600 a month, does that sound right to you? That
Yes.
you're getting in 1,600 veterans?
So if you look at number two, on my report, for 2023, that's for a quarter, 4982 is how many people contacted our office for either transportation needs, rides, burials, in all different ways and fashions, including our outreach, because we go to locations every day. 4,982 people for the quarter. And when I divided that by 3 months, that came to 1,660 veterans.
So are those new veterans? Are these people, you count a veteran as somebody that calls you in the morning, then calls you in the afternoon as two?
No, I count that as one. But if
Got
they
it.
call me 10 times in a week,
Got
or they
it.
call me 5 times in a week,
Still one.
no, it's one every day.
That's all I got.
It's
Thank you,
one
Chair.
every day.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Commissioner Romano. Commissioner Haw.
Thank you, Chair. I withdraw. Commissioner Romano asked the question. I did. Thank you, Laura.
Awesome.
Seeing no other speakers, thank you very much. As always, it's nice to see you. And please, there we go. All right, moving on to the Martha T. Berry schedule report, motion to receive and file.
So move. Did we vote on the?
Oh,
other
yeah,
one?
we did vote.
Support.
It came across mine, sorry.
I can do a voice vote if anybody didn't get theirs. Looks like I missed a couple. Okay, motion passed 12-0.
All right, moving on to item B, Martha T. Berry scheduled report. Can I get a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Romano, support by Van Sickle. Hello, Mr. Evans, how are you?
Very good, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Good to see you all, Commissioners. I did present a PowerPoint that you should have in your in yours. I don't have that with me. It's not up today, so I'll just kind of give you some highlights of it and the purpose behind it in my 4.5-minute presentation. All right. The idea is, this year, one of the things we had was a communication issue. And we do not have a liaison coming to our meeting anymore. And we don't have one coming from the executive office either. So I thought it made sense because I know I am meeting periodically with the executive office. But I thought it made sense that I have kind of do a mini presentation of a board meeting here. So you'll see this evolving to be more like what our board meetings are in kind of a restricted format. So you'll see our budget year to date. Every month that I present, you'll see that. Well, you'll also have an update of what we're doing with the building. For example, in September, we spent a little over $417,000 on the facility building. We'll also be talking about quality. So you'll have all of those elements that I have in a board meeting. But I thought the goal was for communication. I'm not the mean, evil guy trying to pull something over on somebody like a few people tried to make it out that I was. It was simply communication. We're going to make sure that we communicate well. One of the things that I want you to be aware of is that we were short paid for almost 3 years through COVID from the state of Michigan for our annual rates. Because of that, we were suffering some shortfalls when we did not have any money or support from anybody else, some significant ones. By God's grace, we got the employee retention credit, which roughly was 2 months worth of operations for our building. But we're still living right now check by check. Good news is we were able to negotiate with the state of Michigan to allow us to rebill all of those claims, which we're doing right now. We have about 4,000 claims we're just finishing up on. And that should bring us, in addition to the $3 million we're expecting, which I shared with you in a previous meeting, an additional $600,000 once they provide it for us. The bad news is they went from giving us part of that money in September to giving us part of that money in November. Now they're saying they're going to give us part of that money in, I forgot the clicker. Okay, well, I think I just pretty much covered it all. All right. Yeah, so I'm excited that we're going to get that money coming in, but we're hoping for it to be December and January for the rest of it, okay? I shared a few things that we're doing on the building because I believe, one of the concerns that I believe Commissioner Sabatini talked about is not having an understanding of what's happening with the building and, our board running it and you not being aware of it. So bringing more information like this, I believe is going to be helpful to you as we move through, okay? And you can see the budget that we have there. Talked a little about the cash flow. We expected that, but I got more information on that. All right. So our outstanding debt right now, in September we paid 1.8 million in bills, and we still have roughly 2.9 in accounts payable. So we'll be in a much better cash position once we get our cash settlements coming in from the state of Michigan. And just a few things that the people are saying nice stuff about us. So this is kind of the format that we have for my board meetings. And if there's something that you want to see in that as we move forward, then I'd be pleased to share it with you to make sure that you have all the information that you can know that your county medical care facility is being well managed. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Nope, seeing none. Thank you very much for your time, as always.
Thank you.
All right, can we please vote?
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Moving on to department recommendations, starting out with A, budget amendment from Macomb County Action, Great Start Readiness Program, award for $25,000. Can I get a motion to recommend to full board?
Moved by Nard.
Moved by Nard, support by Grott. And we have Mr. Scott here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you all for your time this afternoon. This is a budget adjustment of $25,000, which represents some grant revenue that we've received through the state's Great Start Readiness Program. This is a startup grant that will allow us to expand the number of slots that we currently have available for children to be enrolled. So these dollars are available to be used for things like licensing fees, any necessary facility improvements in the licensing process, any additional costs connected with expanding to new classrooms, including recruiting or retaining appropriate classroom staff.
All right,
Opens
thank
any
you.
questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Chair.
Commissioner Zinner.
Hello, Mr. Scott. Do you have expectations on what you're going to do with that money right now or not?
There is a budget associated, and I believe this was also in your packets, but I know the packet is particularly large this time. But we're looking at approximately $1,000 of that to be spent on recruitment and enrollment, so advertisements and promotional materials. $1,000 is expected for licensing requirements, fingerprinting fees, replacing outdated fixtures and spaces. $4,000 is planned for training and professional development, $10,000 for facility improvements, $2,000 for Great Start to Quality rating improvements, $2,000 for curriculum and assessment purchases, $5,000 for classroom supplies, materials, and other.
Thank you. I had seen, when you said for teachers, I wasn't sure what you meant. I should have been specific. I saw what was here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. You're on the October, you're not on a calendar year, but you're on an October budget, aren't you?
It depends which piece of funding we're talking about. So
What about
the
this
Head Start
funding?
budget is September 1 through August 31st.
Can this money be deducted out of your budget for the, because you had money budgeted in for these categories previously. This money's coming as a supplement to reduce your expenses in those areas. Can you deduct this from the budget?
No,
From
these
your budget?
dollars are to be used for expansion of the services we currently offer. So this will allow us to serve more children, and what that will mean is expanding into new space, potentially looking at shifting some of our staff around to accommodate that, and also the licensing that goes along with expanding into new space. So this is for children we're not yet serving, but are planning to in the near future to recruit, to bring in. So the cost that we have already laid out in the budget is for our program as it stands.
But you have money in your budget to do those things previously, though, right?
No, we have money in our
I
budget
mean,
to.
you're doing a variety of things there, so,
Yeah.
like licensing, do you have a line item for your budget for the pay licensing expenses and things like
Yeah,
that?
we do. Yeah.
So, that's what I'm saying, so out of that piece of that budget, could this money be used to defray that cost so that it helps lower our cost? Getting grants are good, but it helps us reduce our bottom line is what we're interested in.
Yeah, no, I understand the question. I think my answer would be the same though. So
Expansion.
this is specifically for expansion and startup, and the dollars that we built into the budget is for essentially maintenance of our existing programs.
All right. Okay.
We are open to pursuing funding though, to cover, existing costs.
Sure. You can start anytime you want.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Good job. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. To continue with Commissioner Brown's comments, so does that mean the expansions that this is funding will be part of the program next year? So your budget next year will be expanded to cover the continuation of these programs?
So we expect the expansion of the number of slots to continue. These dollars are to cover the startup costs.
Right.
So if we get a facility that needs to be licensed, maybe there's asbestos or lead remediation, or things need to be updated in it, those are essentially a one-time cost.
Okay, I understood that. My question is, next year, now that you've expanded the program in 2024, in 2025, will you expand your budget to the county to cover the new expansion that you did under the grant?
I'm still new and I'm still learning the way things work, but based on my current understanding, I'm gonna say no, because the majority of the costs associated with our Head Start program are funded through the Head Start grant that comes in.
So you expect that Head Start funding to increase to cover the expanded program that this money started you up in?
I do, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you, Chair. I do understand that a lot of the money you receive is state funded, correct, for the Head Start program. And I'm still waiting on those numbers from how many kids we're serving today compared to last year. And from my understanding, without the numbers in front of me, the amount of students we're serving this year is smaller than last year. So with this expansion, we most likely will get back to where we were, hopefully, or more.
That would not be correct.
What
So the numbers, there was a significant decrease in
Okay.
numbers as compared to last year because of the, what's the word I'm looking for? They I apologize, my words are escaping me. But the decision was made to serve fewer children, but in a more complete way. And the number that it was reduced by was significant, over 100. This expansion represents about 20 to 50 slots.
Okay. So yes, if you just really make a note, because I'm extremely interested into seeing the exact number of students that we're serving now. And this expansion is definitely necessary. This program is essential to our community. So yeah, I would really like to see those numbers. And even if it is an additional 20, we're still not hitting where we were.
Right.
So the expansion is definitely needed. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And if I may, I also did want to mention, I know there was a question about the closing of a facility in Mount Clemens. And I did look into that, and that was the ISD, and that was not our program. So I wanted to make that be known. And so this is separate. But we're working to accommodate as many as we can. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, thank you very much. Can we please vote?
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you very much for coming
Thank you
out.
all for your time.
Now we're going to move on to item B, which is a budget amendment for the fiscal year 2023 MDHHS Comprehensive Planning, Budgeting and Contracting CPBC LHD Grant Amendment in the amount of $35,029. Can I please get a motion and support for recommend a full board?
Support.
Motion made by Nard, support by Wallace. And hello, Mr. Andrew, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
Thank you, Commissioners. The first item is, as you mentioned, a request for a budget amendment as a part of our CPBC Grant Amendment Number 1 from the state to help support MRC activities. MRC is our Medical Reserve Corps volunteer team that's within the Health Department. It serves emergency preparedness purposes. So these funds specifically will help go towards preparing and formulating preparedness kits that could be distributed out to residents as a part of this volunteer program. So volunteers could help assemble these items and then also disseminate them within the community. So I'm asking for an approval of this amendment and acceptance of this. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Seeing none, can we please vote? All right, now we're going to move on to, sorry.
Motion passes 12-0.
Moving on to items C and D, which is a service agreement for Michigan Physical Fitness in the amount of $86,386. And can I get a motion to move to full board?
So move.
I'll give the motion to Commissioner Hall this time and the support to Commissioner Nard.
It was
Okay,
an
how are
echo
you?
in here.
Thanks, Commissioners. These two items, the amendment and also the service agreement, is for a new grant that we received from the Michigan Fitness Foundation to support SNAP Ed education services. So these will be health educators from our Healthy Communities team that are going specifically, a lot of that will be directed towards senior centers to educate them on nutritional and healthy activities. So they'll be able to give them resources on how to be healthy within their own living environments, which a lot of the independent senior centers, we've been requested to come out and do different types of health presentations and work with our seniors, which is very important. This will also complement very nicely, I think, what our Office of Senior Services does as well with their senior centers and their congregate care that they help support as well. So this specific grant, we're really excited for. This is a new grant that we received this year to help support our community and educate our residents. Be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Any commissioners? Commissioner Brown?
I didn't see, is this gonna be a position, that's just gonna fund a position?
No, it helps to offset some of the existing county positions within our healthy communities. So they will transfer some of their time out to offset county time is what most of the grant is for. It'll also help support some of the materials for printing costs as well.
So it'll offset existing costs in our budget.
Correct.
That's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you,
Seeing
Madam.
no other questions, can we please vote?
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. All right, moving on to budget amendment for the Health of Michigan, Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy for the amount of $48,540. Can I get a motion to move to full board?
So move.
Support.
Motion by Haas, support by Romano. Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good to see you again. This is a budget amendment for a grant award that we were successfully in getting additional dollars to support our water quality testing. You've heard me say up here before, and I'll say it again, how important it is and how we lead the way, I think, in Macomb County for water testing. And to do that, we have to get the funds and the grants to do that. So we were able and successful from EGLE to secure additional dollars for qPCR testing. This will help, again, work hand in hand with a lot of the work that's going on in Public Works Office with Candace Miller. Along with that is the ability with the testing to find out hopefully what's the levels are going, and also do some of that microbial source tracking, which is to answer some of the questions about sources of contamination. So this will help us do that by giving us additional dollars to do water quality testing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Good afternoon.
Is this a continuation of testing that's already happening?
Correct. So we do already, the bathing beaches, which is the beach testing. Obviously, that's not happening right now because of the seasonal activities that's no longer going on. But what we do all year round is we do surface water sampling. So we'll go into the creeks. We have over 60 different sites in the county that we continuously monitor for different types of contaminants. Specifically, a lot of times it's E. coli levels, but we can do additional testing as well with these dollars. And so this helps to not only sustain that, but also increase those. So if there is a potential contamination that is called in or concern area, we can use these funds to go and do special testing now, instead of just doing the regular testing spots, which is important, and we need that data. But this allows us to do additional testing as well.
Is any of these tests done remotely?
I'm
For
not sure.
instance, along Ryan Road, I see something that looks like an electronic instrument or antenna next to, I'm not sure if it's Chrisman Drain or North Branch of the Clinton River, something there north of 18 Mile. Is that testing?
Some of, that is testing. And one of the things not specifically for these funds that will go towards that, but what we've done is we've partnered with different colleges and universities. U of M did a project to do that, where it's real-time sensors that we can mount and monitor. That is we're still looking at that and making sure that it meets the needs and it's accurate, more importantly. That system is very expensive, and so we only have a few of those in the county, but we hope to expand that real-time testing, because that would be great to have that real-time monitoring of constantly throughout the day, knowing exactly what our levels are looking like would be great. It's just the cost that's prohibitive at this time. This is the qPCR testing is someone going out, a staff person going out and doing that testing and collection, and then it goes to a lab, our heart lab, to get tested.
Are these reports available to the public?
Absolutely. And it depends on what kind of reports you're looking for. A lot
So
of
does
times.
that mean that some are and some are not?
Correct. So we have some data on our website underneath environmental health with some of the past reports that we've done. That is public knowledge. Others is, we still compile those results as well. Of course, beach testing is also public on Beach Guard, which is the state site as well, and those have the levels and the samples
Okay,
information.
thank you. I'll have to go out and look for that. Thank you. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no other speakers, can you please vote? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, now we're going to move on to budget reviews, and we are going to start with animal control, and that is budget page C16. And also, we did get an update from the finance department. There was a couple of just changes. There were misprints in it, so we got an updated page, so hopefully everyone has that in front of them. So I can I get a motion to receive and file.
So moved by Nard. Support.
Motion by Nard, support by Grott. Chief Randazzo, how are you?
Good, how are you?
We'll try to be easy on you.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm not
I'm
gonna
ready.
make promises.
I'm good. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate you taking time to let us do this presentation. So I'll make it short for you. But I just thought for those of you, it's good to kind of catch up because we left off last year. I haven't seen a lot of you, and I appreciate those of you that came for the tour. So I think it gives you good insight of animal control, and I know that we recently approved our needs assessment for a new building, so I thank you for that as well. And hopefully this will shed a little bit of light on this as well. So who is Macomb County Animal Control? It talks about, we have a director, we have a operations manager, this is Jillian Kane, and so we have 2 part-time veterinarians, because as you know, we don't have our veterinary clinic. So we have 7 animal control deputies, 7 kennel technicians, 5 dispatchers, and we service 21 communities and 13 law enforcement agencies. So in 2023, so far, we did 5,443 calls for service. They come in from our central dispatch centers or from our residents themselves. So and this kind of tells you where most of those calls come from. Then also we have year-to-date comparisons. So in the time frame, you'll see in 2022 versus 2023 so far, we almost did over 1,000 calls more this year than we did in 2022. As far as our actual animal intakes, we're almost up to more than 500 animals so far. And then our overtime expense, there's a $25,000 difference, so we're spent $25,000 more in overtime this year. And a lot has to do with the amount of animals that we've taken in, right? So if we're taking in more animals, then it's gonna require more services. Total intakes for those animals, the 2,600 animals, this just shows you the live outcome. So we still have a really good live release rate. We're still #1 in the state. So how do they get out of the building? Through adoptions, return to owners, and then we have transport partners throughout the state. So then our shelter spay and neuter program, so year to date, this is how much we're spending. So just for the cats, 25, almost 26,000. For the dogs, 46,000. And then we have our trap, neuter, and return program, which is our community cats, and that's 45,000. And that includes the entire county. So it kind of shows you that, you know, one of the needs assessments is that we do need a surgical suite in the new building because we are spending a tremendous amount of money, not just sterilizing them. This doesn't include the amount of time that we pay staff to transport them to various veterinary clinics. So we also host 2 free vaccine clinics throughout the county. We hold 2 of them, one in June, one in September. And as you can see, these are free vaccines, free microchips. And if we just look at September 2023, our most recent, we administered over 2,200 vaccines and implanted over 400 microchips. So we know the need for veterinary care is there, and it's our responsibility to bridge that gap. And that's why it's important that we really consider the needs assessment and a new facility. So in 2023, what are some of these highlights and hurdles? So if we look at some noteworthy cases, we had 2 huge cat hoarding cases just recently, where we've taken in over 100 cats from 2 different locations, all in the same month. So obviously that overwhelms our resources at animal control. We did over 159 animals of livestock in Shelby Township. We have a large court case that's been going on for 3 years now. We went to trial, it was a hung jury, so I'm gonna retry it because I am just like that. So we have Tri-County Dog Rescue, that's coming up tomorrow. But these are all the animals that we hold in our facility for long periods of time. And so, you know, if you look at just the hogs that we have there, one of the important aspects of a new facility is having true pastures that can house livestock. Because if we think of the northern part of the community, we have a lot of livestock, and that's where a lot of these animals had come from. So they're awaiting court cases, and so I just wanted to kind of share some of those highlights with you. So as far as the budget goes, I think it's pretty easy. I don't think there's anything big, there's no big changes in there. But I could definitely answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Randazzo, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you, Commissioner?
Thought at least you'd bring us a couple of piglets we could play with. While
I
you're-
totally would have, because I have 8.
No, that was
So
too
I
late
totally
now.
would have done it.
These animals that you take in and you put them out for adoption, you mentioned you neuter am I using the right word, neuter the dogs and cats, or spay the cats and neuter the
And that includes the livestock.
Either one. Okay, do you do this before they're adopted or as soon as they come in?
Yep, so it's required by law that they're sterilized before they go to an adoptive homes or sanctuary or rescue groups.
No, when you get them in and they haven't been adopted, so the cost is there, what happens if they don't get adopted and you've already had them neutered and spayed?
So that wouldn't happen, because we don't sterilize them till they are approved to go up for adoption.
Okay, that was my question. And the other one is this, and it's just a general question. You're telling me 500 more animals were in intake. As we all know, when COVID hit, a lot of people being isolated decided to adopt pets. You getting reasons why these people are turning them in? I mean, it seems like an awful lot of animals.
And it's nationwide. So I just was at one of my law classes at University of Wisconsin, and it's nationwide. So there is a post-COVID component to that, but the bigger piece is I think that there's a mental health crisis. And unfortunately, if you think of the county and you think of anybody who's arrested, anybody that's in their home that's being taken to a facility, or they're gonna be hospitalized for a period of time, those animals are coming to animal control. They're being evicted. You know,
Can you
so
get
some
any
of
money
it's
for
finance.
people when they turn the animals in? I mean, if somebody comes to the animal control and says, here, I can't handle a dog anymore, do you charge them for that? Or you just take the dog in?
So we have something better. So since COVID, I've been very blessed that we have grant money, so we call it pet retention. So we try to work with them first. Why do you have to surrender it? Well, I can't afford the food, or I can't do veterinary care. So we could offer up to $500 per pet to help you retain that. And that could be used in various ways. It could be for dog training. Some people just need simple dog training, and we have the trainer come out to their house, help them train, get better, canine citizens out there. It could be their dog needs a dental surgery, and that they just simply can't afford that. So the goal going forward that we've been really focused on is pet retention. And so we've been blessed enough that we have a grant to do that.
Going back into Chair Brown's statement about the grant money, does that grant money come in every year, and is that included in your budget, and is that?
No, it varies, right? So it's, we have one through Petco Love, which is the Petco Foundation. We have some through BISO, so they're just random. And so they're not something that comes every year. So it's, this year we grabbed it earlier in the year. So, we just kind of try to renew it as fast as we can, so.
So you need the money, okay.
Right.
Thank you, Chair, that's all I have.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Chief.
Good afternoon,
Could you
Commissioner.
explain the trap, neuter, and release program?
Sure. So TNR, which is Trap, Neuter, and Return, is a community cat program that the county executive and I started in 2013. So before I started, all the feral cats that were out in your communities would come to Macomb County Animal Control and they would euthanize them. And that was about 6,000 a year that they would euthanize. So we worked with veterinary schools, University of California, Davis, University of Florida, and we came up with a better program, which is we sterilize those cats and we vaccinate them, we ear tip them, and we put them back out there. Because we know through fact-based research that if we put them back out there, they will hold those territories, it'll prevent the ones that aren't fixed from multiplying and continuing to breed. So that's the TNR program. So we have a voucher program. So if you live in Macomb County, in our service area, you have a problem with community cats, like an outside cat, you could sign up for our voucher program, take your cat to All About Animals, and you don't pay anything, it's done through us. So we pay for the cat to be sterilized, ear tips, and vaccinated.
So if I have.
Yeah, they're not owned, no one owns those cats.
Right. So if I have a feral cat in my backyard and I call you and you come out and take the cat.
No, you would just sign up for our voucher program online.
Okay.
And then you would just come get the trap, you trap it yourself, we give you the voucher, and you just go to All About Animals, hand them the voucher, and they'll sterilize it, and then the cat would just be released right back where it's at. You need the cat to come back. I know
It
it's.
would be released right back to my backyard?
Correct. And I know it sounds weird, I promise you.
Oh, yeah.
But the difference is there's a thing called, if you research it, there's a thing called the vacuum effect. If we take that cat out of that microclimate, what's gonna happen is the cats that aren't fixed are gonna fill that spot where you just took that cat out, and they're gonna multiply. We're gonna put your cat back that's sterilized, and it's gonna hold that territory and not let any of those other cats come back and
Okay.
fill that spot. If you look at animal science, there's more millions of dollars spent on feral cats on this TNR program. When I first started in 2012, we had a $250,000 grant just for TNR. I mean, there's those cat lovers, and we're so blessed to have it because, like I said, it's a concept that for I think a lot of people, it's really hard to understand because you're thinking, well, I don't want the cat. Well, right, I agree. No one wants the cat. No one owns the cat. But the difference is we have to sterilize that cat, vaccinate those cats, and put them right back out there. We take Macomb Township. We have 12 positive skunks that came out of Macomb Township, out of a mobile home community. We went in there, we started vaccinating those animals. We trapped 30 or 300?
Over 300.
Over 300 cats out of just that mobile home community because we needed to vaccinate them because no one owns them. They just let the cats run. But if we don't get involved and keep that program, and a lot of that is grant-based that you see on that figure. But if we don't, then think of all the cats that are just going to be out there multiplying. And it'll be a bigger problem if we don't get that cat fixed or we don't put that cat back.
Otherwise, we'll need to add a budget line item for like a farmland where we can store all these cats.
I'm gonna trust your expertise on.
I
that
promise you.
explanation.
I can send you the data.
Okay. One more question.
Sure.
I've noticed on court cases, there was one called the Mitch Berlin case.
Yes.
Are we suing him or is he suing us?
No, that is a big King Corso that killed another dog.
That's a
and
what?
It was that is a dog. It's a King Corso.
Its name is Mitch Berlin.
Yeah. There's a
Oh,
story to
the
that.
dog's name's
Yeah.
Mitch
Yeah,
Berlin.
the dog's name is Mitch Berlin for
Since that was
specific
our
reason.
chief of police, I was a little concerned.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Funny
That's
story.
all I have, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown.
And it happened in the city.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
The calls for service is quite interesting. I see Commissioner Perna's district, Lynn Township, has over 1,400 calls for service.
Sure does.
My township, Washington's got a handful of calls. Commissioner Hawes' district's got almost 1,000. What's driving certain communities have such high rates of calls?
Oh, God,
and
we
other
could be
ones
here
are
all
not?
day. How much time do I got? No, I'm kidding.
But is it because are they doing, Commissioner Perna doing better advertising of the call line in the communities? Is that what's going on?
No, it's a tough one, because if you look at Shelby Township, right, it doesn't look that bad, right? Comparison to if you lived in Clinton Township or you're in Roseville, St. Clair Shores, it doesn't look as far as call volume goes, right? But think if I just showed you, we had 100 and almost 60 livestock that we'd taken out of one farm, right? So, yeah, and that was just one call. So I think some of it has to do with population-wise. I think that there's, if you think of more, our biggest part of the investigations, right? So if you see those call types, a lot of it's investigation. So it's the way that the neighbors live next door to each other. They could be calling on somebody. So I think a lot of it's just kind of more population. But I wouldn't let those call, like the call volume, kind of take precedence over the type of calls that you're doing in those communities. Sure. Because like I said, like Shelby Township, we did 160, almost 160 head of livestock out of there.
It looks like there's a lot more wild animals running free in Clinton Township than in other parts of the county, and parrots.
Right.
And parrots. You still have your parrot, Commissioner Perna?
It's retired.
They retired? Okay.
Right.
Interesting. Also on the going back, we had a presentation on the need for expansion for your facility, and it's needed. And I had a case that called in here at the board. The chief of police from Warren called me and said, I need you to take some of my animals. We're spending too much time taking our animals that we've captured from whatever reason out of their community, out of many counties away, and they're trying to find a place to put them. And said, well, can you take them to the animal shelter? And I said, the room is full, as far as I understand, and run it out there, but there's a question about that, and they're willing to pay, but again, it goes to space, right? And that number fluctuates from time to time, right? And so.
Oh, yeah. If we've already taken in almost 500 more animals this year, and we're transferring out 322, so
we have the same issue as the city of Warren is in terms of cost of transporting animals to other shelters who can take them.
Oh, absolutely. We have to pay staff to drive them up to Grand Traverse, or they're going to Ingham County, or, you have to pay them to get transferred. And not only that, but they have to be 100% completely vetted, right? So it means sterilized, vaccinated, all the things that go with adoptable dogs or cats.
That's an unknown expense that I didn't fully appreciate till after the conversation. And we're spending, that's 5-hour ride up the back and forth to Grand Traverse County. Can we fly them up there? Can we,
I would love it.
No,
we did fly your dogs.
Gonna need a budget item.
Yeah.
There's gotta be a cheaper way to do it.
Yeah. But think of it like this, it's nationwide, right? So before COVID, we were able to set up transport, right? Maybe we'll meet you halfway.
UPS.
Right. They won't ship, right? So.
Uber for dogs.
Right. So I think the important piece is if we look at the need study, and the goal would be, we just actually assume all the responsibility for the entire county, but we have to build a facility that's going to be, provide that future service for everybody.
Now, he raised a question. He goes, well, we may not have a choice in them. Some of people's legal opinion is that we don't have a choice in that. We have to take them.
Oh, no.
No. Okay, all right. Well,
You can
thank you very
call me.
much, Madam Chairwoman. I appreciate it, and we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Did you like my response for that letter?
I did, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time and response.
Not a problem. I appreciate you. And I know it's not a easy solution because everyone's full, and we appreciate that, they're going through the same thing we are. But moving them locally isn't really
And those large animals in the north end, some say that, animal control, traditional animal control is not set up to deal with large equine animals in the north end of the county. And that's probably true. We don't have the space. But we have the technicians available to understand how to deal with them. And I tell people that, but.
Think of this. one of the biggest hurdles, which we put on here for everyone, was that in 2021, 22, I rewrote the regulations. Took me a year and a half. We spent a lot of time rewriting them. See, it says best practices. We gave it to every one of your communities that you represent, including Warren, which prevents out, backyard dogs, breeding. So if they don't get involved with their breeding and they stop having all the residents breed these pit bulls and just think they're gonna transfer over to Macomb County, they'd be in a lot better position, right? So, I'll take that back to your communities and have them adopt it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Time for this. Thank you.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Chief, couple questions. Just looking at your budget, like your charges for services as an example. In 21, it was 234,000, and this year, or in. you
I'm sorry,
recommended
what was that line?
Charges for services, that line item. And in your 2024 recommended is 117. So just based on what you've presented to us relative to, the calls and the increased activity and everything that's happening in your department, why is the revenue number not increasing at the rate of the increase relative to
Because most,
everything that you're dealing with currently?
so this piece?
It's got microchipping in it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
So just so I understand your question is, why are the revenues not increasing?
Yes, so your charges for services, your license and permits, just your general revenue between the last 3 years. I mean, obviously, there's more that's happening in the department by far based on the presentation. Is that not generating any revenue for the department at all?
Well, no. So the way I would look at it like this, over the last few years, post-pandemic, we have seen more people that can't afford their pet, right? So that's why it's really important that we're focusing on pet retention. And so we're trying to bridge that gap through grant funding. So say, for example, we pick up a stray dog, no matter how we get the dog, we pick up this stray dog. It's being vaccinated, licensed, and we don't want the dog, right? So we want to return it back to the owner. Maybe they're getting out of the hospital, whatever it is, or out of the jail. So we want to return that dog. So the revenue is not being generated because these people have no money to pay for any of those services. And as time goes on, especially in 2023, we really seen that people are financially struggling. We see more evictions, but the goal is we don't want to keep their pets, right? So that's why the revenue piece in animal control will never balance out, because there's no way that we could charge for the services that we provide to those animals and ever think that we could recoup it.
In your model ordinance, obviously best practices, does that have or contain anything as far as, what the monthly cost is to have a pet, as an example, that can be shared with these communities so that they are aware? Hey, it is going to cost me an additional $250 a month to maintain my pet or pets.
So in the best practices, it doesn't really talk about figures. It talks more about adequate care, like pet owner responsibility. So I think that's a really good point. We talk about that within the people that are adopting animals or people that were returning. We're going out to all those calls. We're talking to them about pet owners, the cost of, having pets and what, the responsibility that they're, in charge of. But not actually in that best practices. It kind of really talks more about ordinances, keeping of animals, so that we're preventing it long-term.
Obviously, you're having challenges with personnel like many of our other departments. Are you trying to fill any of these positions, that the ones that you've been trying to fill for some time, with part-time staff that would obviously help with your overtime issue in your budget?
Yeah, so we're trying to do part-time. We've done what we call temporary. So they're full-time, but they're temporary. So they're not, they're not technically an employee of the county. So I try every avenue that I can to fill that gap, because it's a tremendous responsibility when you have, 21 communities that you're servicing with a quarter of your staff missing. So if you think of a small department, right, if you look at just what I have, if you're missing there's 7 kennel techs that share 365 days a week, 10-hour shifts. So same thing with the road animal control deputies. So if we're missing 2 technicians in the back and 2 people on the road, you know, and I'm working the road, I mean, that's a quarter of the workforce.
Your transportation issue that you were talking with Commissioner Brown and his flying dogs comment, how, are we using our employees to transport those animals? Can
Every
we
day.
contract that out? Is that something that could be done? No, we have to.
And no, and what's interesting is that because these are stray animals, right? They're stray dogs or stray cats, but mostly dogs, we'll say. Even the vet clinics are like, hey, can you come hold this dog? Because we don't know what's going to trigger these dogs, right? We have them the goal is get them in, do what we have to do, and get them adopted out, right? Or transferred. So there's no transportation agency that's out there that's going to be able to transport those animals for us. You know, so that's the hard part. You know, we do utilize vet tech schools, so we utilize Macomb Community College. We would, you know, work with Michigan State University, which is where I went to school, but that's a long drive. You're talking an hour and a half just to get there, you know, drop the animals off and come all the way back, and then we have to pick them up the next day. So that, you know, was still a transportation logistical problem.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And
Thank
I
you,
promise,
Manager.
I think of all of those things when we're doing this stuff, and that's one of the goals of a new building. If you think of the amount, not even just money, right? If we just take the money aspect out of it and you just think of the actual time that it takes to drive these animals to all these veterinary clinics every single day, it's a lot. Think of all those cats we took out of the hoarding case, over 100 cats that we have to drive around to get them. You know, we're using Paint Creek and Oakland County right now because they can take 14 at a time.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano?
Thank you, Chair. Second round, real quick, if I may, I might deviate just a little bit from the budget in regards to Commissioner Hall's statement about the feral cat. Do not, and I caution you, try to trap those animals yourself, because I have. Feral cats are nasty animals, and I've had that. I called Sterling Heights to come out to get it. That cat literally, from the bottom of that cage, that wire cage, had claws on it that big going up to hit it. And I know cat lovers are gonna hate me for this, but I'll tell you what, I think you should euthanize them, and I'll tell you why. I've seen, the reason I called on that feral cat was he was eating a rabbit, a baby rabbit, on my front porch and taking the birds out of the bird feeder and eating it, and it was a feral cat. I don't know why you'd want to put them back on the road again, because somebody's going to have to feed them, and if they can't get it from the residents, they're going to get it from the animals. And just a public opinion on my part of what I'm saying. No response. That's all I have, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you. In your slide that was showing the jurisdiction usages, you had a pie chart over to the right, and you had transportation. Is that 510 or whatever it was, transportation calls? Were they calls for something else, or were they the transportation you're talking about, moving?
That's the vet
places?
clinics. That's us transporting animals
Okay. To all,
to our various vet clinics.
Okay.
Think of a dog, middle of the night, hit by a car, that has to go to the vet clinic. All of that is included in that.
that isn't somebody calling up and saying, hey, I got to take my dog to the vet, can come and do it, okay.
Yeah, but we always help those residents too. Like but that's not a transport. That we call that assist the public.
Okay, and for the deceased animals, are these the animals, for lack of a better term, roadkill?
Yep.
Or, okay. People aren't calling you up from their house and saying, my
Well, we
dog-
do disposals for people.
Oh, really?
Right. So if someone's, you know, unfortunately their pet passed away, we would go pick that pet up for them.
Do you charge for that?
It depends. So we try to, go back to our revenue, we try to recoup some costs there for those, from those residents, we can, recoup that cost. But then there's a lot of people that just can't afford it. But we want to make sure that we still provide that service to them.
How do you determine they can't afford it?
So we first start off letting them know how much it costs, right? So it's going to, you have, a big dog, then it's, probably $100. But if they're like, oh my God, I can't afford that, it's like, well, that's okay. We'll figure it out.
Or what can you afford?
Yeah. Or what can you afford?
It's hard to have that conversation when they're already heartbroken because they're,
I understand. And,
I get it.
and some people, I'm sure, are very honest with you. implying that others may not be quite as honest.
Agreed.
So, okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Wallace?
Okay, I have to go back to the cats. I'm not going to say anything like what was said.
You know, right now, everybody hates me. Like, they're like, he's taking a long time.
So you're saying catch the cats. You're saying don't catch it. How do we get, oh, in Mount Clemens, they're like, it seems like all the cats find a vacant house and they tell each other and everyone goes in and they have a blast. Yeah, they're on social media. They're on cat social media. And then there's like 10 million kittens.
Well, we did 831 community cats so far, right? So what we did is listen to fact-based research. University of California, Alley Cat Allies, University of Florida, and they are the mothership for, you know, forensic veterinary medicine. And they've done all the research as for community cat programs. Do they work, right? And should they be implemented in your communities? And we had them come here, they did a speech for all the, at the time, all the police departments and the agencies that we service, and we all agreed this is the best way to go forward.
And I believe that because in one of the homes, I don't know where the cats went. They said someone came and got the cats. But it was like maybe a week when there were like no cats, and then there were all these new cats. I don't know how they know, but how does one, I am not going to set up a cage and hope, I don't want the cat to scratch me, or I just see myself like, you know, cartoons like, that's what I envision when I try even think about catching a cat. So how would you said, like, you guys don't go catch the cats. You said Harold is going to go catch his cat in his backyard. So how does Harold go catch that cat?
So we do have loan the traps out to you, right? And then they actually have covers that come with them, right?
Okay.
So the cat, you know, shouldn't be able to scratch you. You know, they're very thick vinyl covers that go on those traps. And we have different traps that we could utilize for those specific occasions.
Okay.
But if the residents don't get involved, there's no way that animal control would ever
Right.
be able to fill that gap of all those, catching all those cats in those communities.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're willing to pay for it. We just need you know, the resident to meet us halfway here.
All right. There you go, Commissioner Hall. Meet them halfway. Thank you.
We don't want to euthanize
I will, I'll call
831
my
cats.
son.
No.
Make our numbers go down.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Well, really quick on the TNR program. So, will you still be using All About Animals even after the new facility, or do you plan on bringing that in-house?
We're gonna bring that in-house.
Okay, that was number one, because I mean, I think it's an absolutely fantastic program. I know in my community, animal control will not pick up cats. They just don't. We're overwhelmed with dogs.
Are you in Warren?
In East Point.
Oh, yeah.
We just have way too many dogs. Our animal control, even having 2 animal control officers, they're overwhelmed with the amount of dogs that we get every, you know, calls, other calls for service. They don't have time to come out and catch a cat. So I think it's a great program.
Thank you.
So I do appreciate that. Commissioner Brown?
When we build the facility, no matter how large we make it, we could fill it.
That is not a good theory, though. 'Cause-
But
There's a capacity
really, I
for
mean,
care,
there,
though, no
there's,
matter what.
there's only so much, we only have so much, we can only build it so large, but no matter how big we could build it, we could fill it,
This is true.
right?
'Cause there's
So how are
val-
we gonna regulate? That's the question.
Exactly, and we have a capacity to care, right? So it's kind of, if you think of it like a hospital, right? I mean, yeah, if you have a bed available or you start using hallways, but you don't want to be the person that's put in the hallway waiting for a, you know, important procedure. And it's the same philosophy goes into animal control. Once we start overwhelming the resources, the quality of the care will drop. And as soon as the quality of care drops, then infectious disease goes up, right? So as soon as those components start taking place, is then we're going to be in a really big, you know, bad place to be in. And right now, we're number 1 in the state, and we never want to change that ranking, right? Through billing.
I remember when we weren't.
I
And
know.
then you came
Me
along.
too, I didn't work here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Seeing none, can we please vote?
Always fun talking about animals.
Thank you for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I asked the question.
Motion passes 12-0.
You can if you want.
He's right. He's right about what?
We ready to go?
I'd like to follow that act.
We'll now go to Records in Public Safety Committee. We'll start with A, which is the rental agreement. Sorry, I got to put on my eyeballs. The rental agreement, State of Michigan, rental juvenile justice center space, $11,092.03 per month. Andrew McKinnon is going to talk to us about it. I need a motion, recommend this to full
No
board,
move,
please.
Paul.
Support Zinner.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Zinner. Mr. McKinnon.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Couple of quick comments. Number one, they say you're never supposed to work with animals and children. We had animals, now we got kids. I feel bad for Barb Caskey following me after this. Secondly, to Chair Brown, the north end of the county and Clinton Township may have very different ways of handling their larger animals, from what I understand. I don't live in the north end of the county, but it may be the way that they handle them. So I appreciate all the discussion and the goodwill from this board, and I look forward to presenting my item, which is a utilization of our Juvenile Justice Center to allow for the state of Michigan to lease space from us, which they are then using a third-party company to house youthful offenders from other communities throughout the state. As you may have seen in the news, we have a lot of issues throughout the state of Michigan with different juvenile care facilities. And there is not a space capacity, as we just talked about with animals, for these youthful offenders, and that's an unfortunate occurrence. We have enough space in our facility currently. We don't use a large portion of our facility. It was built at a time where juvenile detention had a different philosophy, where it was house youthful offenders. We are now trying to get them back into the community so that they can heal with their families. The state of Michigan now reimburses the county court and the juvenile justice facility, but really the county court, juvenile court, to keep youth in their homes at a 75% rate, as opposed to the 50% rate that they got last year and years prior. So that's a big boon to them for their programming. This will be money that we did not receive last year because we did not have an agreement with the state. It is space that is empty, and we would be heating and cooling if we did not have the state in that portion of the facility. So that's my brief synopsis, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Andrew, I have a question for you, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner.
How much does it break down to a square foot, and how much square footage are we talking about?
So they're going to be using 55,230 square feet currently. There is the opportunity for them to use additional square footage as they get up and running. It's $11,000 and some odd dollars per month. And I don't know the specific, Commissioner, I'm terribly sorry about that. I can't do that math in my head. I can ask Steve if he has.
Is that open space? Andrew, is that open space we're talking about? Is it office space we're talking about?
It is space to house youthful offenders, so it's secured space. Much like, I don't like to use the term, Commissioner, but like a jail cell for a youthful offender. And then some office space for their operations as well.
Okay, that's all I have. Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
So in regards to that, was actually one of my questions, is what the cost was per square foot as well. But in regards to this, so State of Michigan reached out to us, or we reached out to the State of Michigan on this?
State of Michigan was looking around for space, and they did reach out to us. Wayne County had reached out to us prior to that, and we had not really engaged with them a ton. And then the state of Michigan came and said, hey, we could really use some help on this. And I think we were able to come to a good agreement here with the state.
In regards to the actual capital outlay on that building, do we have to invest any money into it to get it up to par? And what, if you're nodding yes, and what would that cost be?
I'm nodding yes. Sometimes I just nod yes, because I understand the question. You'd be surprised how often I'm confused. So the answer is that the state of Michigan has agreed to build a wall/door that separates our facilities completely. So there will be no overlap and no ability for a youth to go from our side of the building to theirs or vice versa. So that was very important to us, and you approved that construction maybe 2 months ago. That construction won't happen until probably January because the door is on back order. So we're currently today building a temporary door there. All of that being funded by the state of Michigan. There will be an additional budget amendment coming to you next week for several $1,000s. I think it's about $150,000 additional, which will again be fully funded by the state of Michigan. No improvements had to be done over there. It was turnkey, it was ready to go. But the only work that had to be done was whatever the state might want for their facility or the third-party contractor, and then building that wall, which the state was more than happy to provide funding for us.
How long is the term for?
This is for 1 year currently, because they have some sort of, much like we do with coming to you, they need to go to their committee, whatever they do, and they can only go for 1 year. And I believe it is a 90-day, it's a 120-day cancellation period. So if we don't want them there any longer, it's 120 days. And if they don't want to stick around, it's 120 days.
So kind of just as to recoup everything, we're not putting any money into it. They're paying for all the build out costs.
Correct.
And this is the rate for us to lease it to them for a year.
Yes, and I can tell you, I'm sorry that I didn't break it down per square footage. What we had done to come to a price just to be good partners, and this is the same part of the state government that funded a large portion of our central intake project. We took what it cost for us to maintain that facility on an annual basis through utilities. And we divided that by the number of square foot and then multiplied that by that number. So it's really they're paying for the utilities with an understanding that utilities will go up next year if they're still there because they're using some of that. So they'll pay us additional next year.
So what about the wear and tear on the building after the lease?
They're required to put it back in the position that it was in when they showed up on day one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Commissioner.
Chair.
We got a couple here. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
I was going to ask about the utilities. Now, you say their rent is based on the cost of the building today.
Correct.
And when you have people that occupy that other half of the building, the utilities will be more and the overall cost of the utilities for the building will be increased over what it is today.
Correct.
Was that accounted for or just the current cost of the utilities was?
It'll be accounted for on a go-forward basis. So as we enter into the next lease, because we do anticipate them being there for a few years, we'll work that into the next lease that comes.
So we're acknowledging that we'll lose money in the first year.
Probably not as much as we lost last year on heating and cooling an empty building.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner James M. Perna.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Sabatini answered or requested some of the information. 1 year lease, open-end lease, they can extend it year after year. Escalation clause in there for rent as well.
Yes.
If they move out, they will put the building in the back the way it was.
Correct.
Or we can keep it with the improvements.
Yes.
Is there potential use for that down the road then?
Potential use down the road, we hope not, just because of the way that our juvenile justice system works here in the county. We do a nice job of keeping our youthful offenders in their homes.
So the 1 year lease that starts January of this year?
It actually starts, if I am correct, October 1st and ends September 30th.
Of next year?
Of 24, yes, sir.
24. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Lucido.
Thank you, Commissioner. So right now, we're going at like 20 cents a square foot for the rent, but that's basically just to cover the utilities, you're saying. And then you're saying the next year it will increase. My biggest concern is how big is the building right now? You said we're leasing them 55,000 square feet.
Yes. It is 180,000 square feet, if I remember
Oh,
correctly.
so it's 180,000 the whole building is.
And in the 20 cents a square foot, that's per month, I believe.
Yes,
So
per month.
11,000 per month.
Yeah.
Multiplied by 12 months, divided by 55,000 is only 20 cents a square foot. I think it's a little bit more.
Oh, here comes the finance guy. If you would.
20 cents a square foot per
Twenty
month.
cents times 12, so it's 240,
Yes.
242 a square foot.
Yeah, yes.
I'm sorry, 20 cents a month, Commissioner. I just want to make sure.
So that's
and
fine,
I-
yeah, $2.40.
I'm not squabbling. Yep.
$240, yeah, $2.40 a square foot. That's fine. So yes, I guess my biggest concern is that the increase in the utilities from it being utilized, like, yes, we're still paying heat and electric now for that 55,000 square feet, but like, if water usage and stuff, I would think would go up a lot more when there's those beds being filled. So I'm wondering, I'm a little concerned about the deficit it is gonna cost the county, like the cost it's gonna cost the county for that first year.
Yeah, it absolutely will. And we looked at market rate and what that might go for, Commissioner, but it didn't make sense with that type of facility that would never be rented at market rate because it's just not a facility that people are looking for. So we entered into the state trying to be good partners with them because they were being good partners with us with the funding that came for our central intake and other projects. I think we have the VERC project that they also gave us a grant on. So they had been good partners with us. We wanted to try to be good partners with them. And I think the benefit of that bargain was great for the county.
And like I said, I mean, I realize we're not trying to make a profit off the state, letting them use the space. I just want to make sure that we're being made whole with what we're spending on it. I don't want to be paying out of Macomb County's pocket to be supporting that area, and that's what my concern is.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Chair.
On the second round, Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Andy, just zipping through this contract really quick. How did you come up with the utility cost to calculate your rent basis on this agreement? Okay. Was that done after they reconfirmed the utility tab? Because I know our utility tab has gone up drastically in our budget because there was a lack there relative to what we had in our budget last year to this year.
I don't know about, I don't understand reconfirm utility tab. It was based on last year's utilities. It would have gone up last year. It wouldn't have been based on this year.
We have a huge utility increase this year in our budget for next year going forward. So my only concern is how was this number computed with the state? I mean, 240 a foot, I knew the number. I was just curious if you had it. I mean, we're liable for everything in the building, which means, you know, any type of repairs, maintenance, basically all we're billing them for is a flat rate. And if they exceed that utility or use rate, we're eating the difference. And I don't know how the term on this could be last month. So are they going to pay us starting in October when they haven't even taken over the facility?
We had dated it because there were so many administrative hoops to jump through in the state. And to come to a date, and they have not moved into the facility. I would anticipate that they would. They've been our commissioner, and we have been working with them on these projects, right? So there's been some movement from us moving things out of that space. To take care of with a reimbursement by the state. Absolutely no cost to us. We have to do this all over again?
Nope. Fair enough. Just if we can get that more information, I'll support this today to move this on the full board, but I'd just like to kind of get those details. That'd be great.
Yes, I'll get you, so if I understand, Commissioner, you want the date that we asked for the utility tab and what numbers we were using.
Correct. Just to verify they're true to today's utility costs. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Second round again, Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. So I didn't understand everything you just said to Commissioner Sabatini. The state has not taken possession of the building yet, correct?
Correct, they're not housing youthful offenders there at this time.
But their term would go from October 1st to the end of September of next year. So we're really talking about them occupying the building under this contract for less than 12 months.
We are at this point in time, but I want to be very clear that we anticipate this will be an ongoing relationship with the state. I don't anticipate that they're going to want to spend the type of money that they've spent on this facility to only utilize it for 12 months. They can only enter into a 12-month agreement. From the state's perspective, with this type of relationship that we're entering into, they have to jump through many more administrative hurdles in order to get to a longer-term
Okay.
agreement, and that's something that we may consider. And we may consider, with the feedback that we've got here, increasing that rate to recover some more of those utilities as we move forward.
Well, the point that I'm driving at is since this is a cumulative contract, clearly this contract is well over 35,000. And I was just trying to find out whether or not we signed the contract already and allowed them in the building for a contract over 35,000 without presenting it to this board first.
Yeah, I signed it and I brought it here, so you can see the date that I signed it. I believe it was after October 1st. if I remember
Okay.
correctly.
I just didn't remember.
October 26th is the day I signed it.
Okay. And we're seeing it now.
Yes.
So the contract for more than 35,000 was signed before we approved it. Is that what you're saying?
I signed it and then brought it here for execution.
What are we talking about now then, if you already executed it?
You're asking me the question, Commissioner. I'm having it here to ratify before this board.
But you already signed the contract with the state.
With the understanding that it had to come before this board to be approved.
Okay, that's the part I was missing. Thank you.
As with all contracts over $35,000.
Well, that's what I was wondering about, how the whole October one was coming into play when this is November and we're just hearing about this.
You did approve the door, so you've heard about it before. You approved the door that was built there,
Okay,
so you have heard about this before.
right, the doors. But I didn't remember leasing the building. We didn't hear about that before, did we?
You did when we were talking about the construction of the door.
Did we actually, but we didn't have the amounts of the lease and that kind of thing, did we?
I don't know what you had.
Okay, I'll have to look back at the notes then. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, I see no other speakers. We have a motion and a support. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Let's move on to, in fact, as I'm looking at these, I think most of these are all cost neutral to the county because they're coming from different funds or they're grant funds. My favorite, grant funds. We had a lot of grant funds on the last chair meeting, so I thought, I do like grants. Okay, let's move on to item B, which is again coming out of the opioid fund. This is an agreement with Care of Southeastern Michigan Peer Recovery Services for $180,000 a year. And we have the pleasure of Ms. Caskey, who is the Director of Community Corrections. I
Good
need a
afternoon.
motion to move this and to recommend it to full board, please. I have a motion by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Grote. Ms. Caskey, whoop, you're up.
Good afternoon, thank you. We are here with, we'll go over the first one separately, with it's essentially a capacity expansion contract with Care of Southeast Michigan for $180,000 annually to expand the current presence of peer recovery coaching that begins in the jail to work with inmates as they transition into the community and then to continue with them into the community under, for the most part, access funding if they have Healthy Michigan or Medicaid. There is some existing funding that comes from the Michigan Department of Corrections that funds the current contract that is in place with CARE. And this extension would continue to meet the standards that we have with our MDOC contract, including how many years of recovery they're required to have for the peer recovery coaches, certification, things of that nature. So I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no speakers, I have a motion and support. Please vote. Or not. All in favor, say aye.
I think
I
it just
voted.
worked.
I voted, just
I
slow.
voted.
Everybody voted?
Everybody but you.
Mine is broken.
Motion passes 11-0.
Okay.
Better
let's-
find Luke.
Okay, we got 11-0. Let's move on. Item C is an agreement for Self-Help Addiction Rehabilitation Incorporated, doing business as Share House Incorporated, residential treatment services, $150,000 a year. This is also an opioid fund part. I need a motion, recommend this also to the full board, please.
So moved, Lucido.
Have a motion by Commissioner Lucido, supported by Commissioner Nard. Ms. Caskey, you are up again.
The second contract again is with SHAR Macomb, which is an existing provider that we have. This would also expand capacity for residential treatment placement, mostly used for diversion from the jail for individuals with substance use disorders. This would be $150,000 annually in addition to the funds that we are able to provide through the Michigan Department of Corrections Office of Community Corrections Grant. Again, this is an existing contract that we have, which allows for minimal financial impact on county general fund because we're able to utilize both MDOC dollars and the contract that they have with them, as well as those that are eligible under MCOSA's access funding.
Thank you. Again, I see no speakers. I have a motion in support. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, which is C, was an agreement, I think it's called Equature, Recorder Hardware Refresh and Service Agreement Renewal, $219,222. I need a motion, recommend this to full board.
So move.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Grote. This is the 911 thing, which no cost again to the county. We have our dispatch director, Ms. Elsie.
Yes, good evening. Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. So today I bring forward to you an agreement that holds significant importance for the efficiency and compliance of our operations at dispatch for the Sheriff's Office. For 15 years, Equature, formerly DSS Corporation, has been our trusted vendor that provides the hardware and software necessary to record all of our 911 and radio audio. So in your packet, you'll find the comprehensive renewal agreement. And for this service, it includes a hardware refresh because our servers are at end of life that support the actual recording of the audio. In addition to a hardware refresh, this also includes 24/7 support. It includes a variety of different type of recordings, such as analog or internet-based type of data, a lot of enhancements to what it is that we can search for and actually capture with recordings. It includes transcription, which is going to be very helpful for investigations and quality assurance. The total cost of the contract is spread out over the life of the agreement, which is 5 years. And so the first year would be $45,444.40. The remaining 4 years would be $43,440.40. It's a $2,000 increase for year one, just because of the professional services, which include the installation of the new hardware in Comtech. The benefit of this renewal extends just beyond our history with Equature and the existing contract that we have, but also we are in a partnership with Warren Police Dispatch. And so entering into that in 2021 with Warren, they switched their vendor to Equature and ended the contract with their previous vendor. And now we have redundant recording with each other. So that makes sure that all of our public safety audio is recorded at all times. If our server were to fail, then all of our audio would still be recorded at Warren, or vice versa. Or if we're working out of Warren, then we can ensure that our audio is recording and vice versa when they're with us. So with that, I will take any questions.
Seeing no questions, please vote.
Chair, I'm on the,
I'm sorry? Oh, now I see you. I'm sorry. Commissioner Sabatini?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Angela. So this is for next year's budget and going forward. So where would this come out of the budget?
Repairs and maintenance. And the increase in cost was included in that line item in our 24 budget. So it was
Okay, so
accounted
that's
for.
also going to be where the Tyler Tech
Correct.
is in that line item as well? Okay,
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Welcome. Okay, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item E is agreement with the Flock Group, Inc., automation license plate detection cameras, $423,250. I need a motion to recommend this to full board, please.
No move, Hall.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Nard, and we have the pleasure of Commander Oliver here. This is a budgeted item too, isn't it in your budget?
Yeah, it's already in the budget. So as you can see, it says Captain Steve Briney. So next time you guys see him, you got to give it to him. He dumped this off at me at 2 o'clock. So anyways, good evening, Commissioner. So what I have here is recently Flock has approached our agency with an option to renew our current contract that we have at a discounted rate. The benefits of the new contract would be locking in the past price of $2,500 per camera over the next 5 years, resulting in a $500 savings. This new contract will include 5 additional cameras to our communities that we patrol. We are asking the board to approve the contract extension with Flock Group to provide software and hardware for 30 now instead of 25 automatic license plate detection cameras from January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 28 in the amount of $423,250. Funding of the $87,250 for year one is available in the F-101 General Fund Sheriff Uniform Services Budget Equipment Maintenance Agreements, and funding for years 2 through 5 of $84,000 per year will be included in the budgets for 2025 through 2028. And I'll take any questions. So hopefully I answered the questions that
We anticipated, right? Thank you, Commander. Commissioner Van Sickle, please.
Thank you. This was for specific purposes, if I remember the discussion about these cameras from before. Is that true?
Correct.
And do you have any statistics as to how many people we were able to identify that we were looking for?
Well, I know it's just not for wanted persons. I can tell you, it's for missing people, dementia patients, Alzheimer's, runaways, juveniles, wanted persons, violent crimes. But I will get you, let's see if he has statistics here in the packet. I know there was statistics in the last presentation, and I don't know if he has it here, but they're a phenomenal tool, and we use them constantly. And we used them just recently on a missing person, which resulted in the findings of that person. And other communities can also share information, like Shelby Township and the other jurisdictions that utilize the cameras as well.
I'd like to find out how many people we located because of this.
Sure, it's significant. I'll get you some statistics.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lucido, please.
I withdraw my request because I was going to ask the same question.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item F is an agreement with Civil Staffing Resources LLC, Civil Division, Civil Process. This is no cost to the county either. Commander Arbro, you're up again. Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Sabatini, supported by Commissioner Nard. Commander, if you would.
Okay, so our civil division contract is up this year at the end of 23. We went out to RFP for a new contract. And we have, which I'm happy to report, Civil Staffing, who's been handling our current contract, I believe since 2013, is the only bidder who put in for the contract. I can tell you that they do a phenomenal job on operating the Sheriff's Civil Division. And we have our bidder, Jim Myron, who's been with Civil Staffing and provides his services. I know that if we were to do this alone, we would have to hire 3 or 4 individuals to handle this. He does it. And I asked that we continue a contract with Civil Staffing, that they were the only bidder that put in on the RFP for the next 5 years with a option of a 2 1-year extension. I'll take any questions. And also, Mr. Myron is here, who did show up tonight if there's any questions posed at him.
Must have done a good job. I don't see any speakers.
Oops.
I have a motion, what?
It's not broke, don't fix it.
You guys are not hitting it early enough. I'm going to bypass you. Go ahead, Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. The paperwork here says no cost to the county, but what kind of money are we talking about per year?
So I think I have it down pat, but that's why Jim is here. I know it might, I think it's the first 100,000 that is recovered, I believe, goes towards civil staffing, and then from there, the county starts getting a percentage. But he might be best to answer that question.
Okay. Yeah, in the future, I'd like to see the costs included.
And it is in the packet.
Okay,
It
I
is on
understand.
page, I'm just trying to get you an answer quickly without having to go through the paper, but it is,
It's in the packet. I'm sure Mr. Commissioner Van Sickle will find it.
I can go
do you know what page that's
dig
on?
for it some more.
The cut.
You want to know what the revenue?
Excuse me, would you get to the microphone if you're going to speak, please?
Sure, excuse me. Good afternoon. My name's Jim Myron. Yeah, what, it's the first 100,000 I'm sorry, if I can sneak over a little bit. Can you hear me?
Not him. I want everybody to hear you. That's why I want you to talk to the
That's why
microphone.
I'm trying to move over. So it's a net number. So it would be the revenues minus the expenses for the process servings and any refunds. For example, if we attempt service and we can't complete that service, if there's a balance owing, that would be a refund that would go back to the consumer. So the number would be if and I gave the example in your packet, that if we collect revenues of $120,000, then, and if there were $20,000 in expenses that would be deducted, there would be no split. But once you get past that, let's say it's 130, right? That next $10,000 above the 120 would be split 50-50 with the county and continuing on. Anything over that number
When
is
you
split
say-
50-50 with the county.
When you say split, you mean come to the county, not a county expense?
No, it would be money to the county.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I think that answers my question. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome, Commissioner. I see no other speakers. I have a motion and support. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. I'm going to take G and H together, if I may. One is the budget amendment, Sheriff's Department Precision Rifles for Macomb County SWAT Sniper Team, $53,172. And I also have a purchase, Mile High Shooting Accessories LLC for Precision Rifles for Macomb Sheriff SWAT Sniper Team for $53,172. I need a motion to recommend this.
Motion by Zinner. Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Zinner, supported by Commissioner Hall, and I have Captain Doherty going to speak on it.
Good afternoon. Before you today is a motion to approve a purchase with Mile High Shooting Accessories LLC to provide 8 Accuracy International AX308 rifles, 8 ultra suppressors, and 8 muzzle brakes in the amount of $61,172, minus $8,000 trade-in value for our current rifles, Bergera rifles for final cost of $53,172 for the Sheriff's Office. Funding is available in the Police Academy training budget to be moved to new equipment. Subsequent budget adjustment agenda item was submitted. Mile High Shooting Accessories LLC is the only authorized law enforcement dealer, retailer in North America for the Accuracy International Rifle platform. The current optics from the Bergera rifles will be removed and utilized on our new platform if approved. The purchase will replace the rifles currently used by our sniper and observer team of the Macomb County SWAT team. Our current rifles are over 5 years old and have experienced accuracy and reliability issues. Our research has led us to Accuracy International AX308. These rifles are currently used by the British military and U.S. military sniper teams. These rifles led the market in accuracy and reliability, and I'm taking any questions you may have regarding that.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. The new rifles, how long have they been in use? I'm not by you, but I mean
The
by the
company
other,
has been in business since 1978.
since 1978?
Correct.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I see no other speakers. I have a motion and support. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Thanks, Captain. Item I is an interlocal agreement, Charter Township of Shelby Indigent Defense Services for fiscal year 2023, 2024. Again, this is no cost to the county. I need a motion and support to move this.
recommend to full board.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Grote and supported by Commissioner Van Sickle, and I have,
a question.
you don't wait till he comes up and speaks, and you can ask anything you want. Mr. Fierce?
Sorry.
I have Aaron Fierce and Gary Kennedy. Who's who?
Good afternoon, I'm Erin Frears-Cole.
Hi, Aaron.
I'm Gary Kennedy.
Go ahead, folks.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a fully grant-funded interlocal agreement with Shelby Township to provide indigent defense services to the 41A District Court, which is similar to the systems we already administer in the county-run courts on New Baltimore and Romeo. This agreement provides that the Public Defender Office will perform services relating to the appointment of attorneys qualified to handle criminal indigent matters in the court. Services will include preparation of the grant application, maintaining the roster attorney appointment list, appointing attorneys in indigent defense cases, reviewing requests for payment, and assistance with quarterly grant reporting. Funding for 2023 through 2024 is already approved by the MIDC and provided. The interlocal agreement is renewable and is contingent on continued grant funding. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron Fierce. I have, you want to add anything to that, Mr. Kennedy?
No.
Okay, we have commissioners with a question here of Speaker Commissioner Nard.
So that includes indigent defense services in general, would be attorneys representing people who are indigent, their constitutional mandate that they be provided an attorney. Those are the indigent defense services. Now, we don't directly necessarily provide those. We assist Shelby Township with their lists of attorneys, making sure that they are qualified, which will play into our next contract that is on your agenda as well.
I took my name off, right?
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. Is this different than a public defender?
Same thing.
It's yes, it's similar.
Okay.
They're just not hired by the county, they're on a roster.
I'm sorry, I did.
They're on a
You gotta
separate
speak, you gotta speak at the microphone, or please.
They're on a separate roster list, they're not actually county employees.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I see no other speakers. Whoops. This is the last time I'm gonna let you jump in late, Mr. Perna. Commissioner Perna, go ahead.
On these attorneys that you hired, are they trained to represent, I mean, there's a lot of law firms. How do they pass to qualify?
We don't necessarily hire them, but there are certain standards that they must meet. These standards are set forth by the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission through the licensing and regulatory agency of the state of Michigan. They must meet certain standards in order to qualify to be on lists that we maintain, and we check and make sure that those standards are maintained.
What kind of compensation do they get?
They get it just changed. They get hourly compensation, and that is also mandated by the state of Michigan, and these are all funded mandates through grants,
Starting at what?
starting at $132 an hour.
All right, thank you.
All set, Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Chair Brown.
How many cases last year needed those services at that court?
At that particular court, the indigent defense makes up about 70% of the cases.
What about the other two courts?
It is consistent. It's usually about 70% of the cases are handled by an indigent, an attorney qualified to handle indigent defenses.
How long does it take for someone to get an attorney assigned to them?
Days.
Once they were?
Like a day,
Okay,
approximately 1 day.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. So in regards to their training to be on this list and approved in order to handle those services, does the attorney have to go through some type of education? How does that work?
So attorneys are required to meet at least 12 hours of continuing legal education per year, and it must be done every year. But in order to even get to that point, they have to have either some experience or have completed basic skills requirements that would be, and those trainings have to be approved by the MIDC in order to meet those basic requirements.
So they're responsible to get that training and make sure that they meet those requirements in order to get on that list?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I have to say, you were well prepared. I
you.
see no other speakers. I have a motion and support. Please vote. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Motion passes 12-0.
Let's go to item J, which is an agreement with the Macomb County Bar Association, Public Defenders Continuing Legal Education Training, $185,000. We have the same nice people up in front of us. I need a motion and support to recommend this to full board, please.
Motion to move to full board.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Van Sickle, supported by Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is an agreement with Macomb County Bar Association. This satisfies that standard that attorneys must comply, and it relates to education and training. As I went over before, at a minimum, they have to have 12 continuing education credits per year in order to qualify, and we contract with Macomb County Bar Association to meet this standard. They provide the training. They also verify that the attorneys have completed that training, and then they let us know that they have, in fact, completed their requirements and what they have done, so that they may stay on the roster list so that we can allow them to represent indigent people in the county. And this is also fully grant funded.
Thank you. I have Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair.
Question?
I noticed in some of the requests today that some of the requests specifically say that it's 100% grant funded. I want to remind commissioners that specifically in some of these funds, we're transferring general fund dollars into them. So they may be grant funded, but they may not be 100% grant funded because the county is still putting money towards those actual funds. So specifically with the Public Defender's Office, we're actually, for next year, anticipated to transfer $2.3 million into this fund. My question, which I asked during budget cycle for this specific fund, was specifically in this line item. What I couldn't understand is why we are obligated to train a contract attorney to represent somebody.
So on a small scale, if you have a major crime when there are, say, 4 defendants, a public defender's office can only represent one of those because of potential conflicts. So we must have attorneys that we can contract with that will represent the other 3 in that case, because each person is entitled to their own representation that does not conflict with whatever strategy another defendant may have. So we must, and that's just on a small scale. On a larger scale, we have 9 attorneys, so we would not be able to represent everyone in the county, even if we are educated, trained, and dedicated. With the level of cases that qualify for indigent defense, we just would not be able to do it. So we must have those attorneys. And the state has also, the formation of the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission goes all the way back to lawsuits filed against counties for not providing proper indigent defense. And they said, this training is required and we will fund it. Just tell us what's going to cost. Those are the main reasons that we must make sure that these attorneys are qualified to handle these. Otherwise, we open ourselves up to those potential lawsuits.
So we're contracting them out and paying them at a minimum $132 an hour. And then we're also paying to train them to meet the standards to be on the list that we're paying them for. It kind of doesn't make sense to me. It's why I'm bringing it up.
MIDC says you have to train your attorneys and they have to have the 12. That'd be an unfunded mandate. You guys know that saying. So they've given us the money to train them.
and train us. They train us for free. The county don't pay for that. We get trained by them for free. We can go to any of these trainings and the state pays for them. So technically, the county employees that I am get trained for free. This money is given to us for free to also help other Macomb County attorneys that are taxpayer, your taxpayer. They pay taxes here to earn a living. So not only are they doing that, they're also taking care of the indigent defendants that are also your county, they're part of this county as well. So the money is given to us, it's grant funded. Someone has to do it. They've asked the local funding units to take care of the issue. So our local funding unit that we choose to use is Macomb County Bar Association, which obviously most of the people that represent, or most of the attorneys in Macomb, excuse me about my voice, I've been losing it for 2 days. They are members of the bar, and then they contracted before we even came on. This has been going on for about 4 or 5 years now. So the money, like, it just makes more sense to train these attorneys to be better. It'll cost you guys less money in the future too. Not going through appeals by having people have ineffective assistance of counsel. So you gotta think about it like this. You're paying a little bit of money here to train an attorney. Better represent these indigent defendants who are also county citizens. That way we're not paying more money in the long run to have these court cases continue to go on. We had 400, last year alone, 4,500 felony cases in Macomb County. That's not even including district court level cases that were dismissed before. We handle a lot of them. We're handling over 50% of the capital cases in Macomb County right now. That didn't happen before. You used to be paying a person $192 an hour to handle those cases. Now you got us. So I think paying a little bit of money with grant funded money to train these attorneys will only help Macomb County in the long run.
So what were we doing last year? Did we have a contract with the Macomb Bar Association?
Yes.
This is the third time I think they've come to get.
That is correct. I believe this is year 3, and MIDC requires that the attorneys not have to pay for this training if they are accepting indigent court appointments, which is the biggest issue and why this is set up the way that it is
So it's
because
state required?
required.
Okay.
That the attorneys, they be provided that and not have to come out of their own pocket.
And just one other thing, if that training doesn't happen, we lose our funding for that public defender office across the street that you guys just paid for.
So if this contract was in force last year, is this the exact same contract that we had previously?
It is.
Okay, and is it based on how many attorneys are getting the training, or is it a flat fee?
It's a flat fee.
Is
there something else? Didn't know you're talking there. Didn't know if you want to add
So you
something.
just wanted to make sure that you're aware that our attorneys are able to get more than the 12 hours for the same fee. It doesn't increase based on how much they do. They can
No.
do as much training as they're
I
able.
totally understand our employees, that's different. What I'm trying to get my head around is that we're spending $185,000 to train contract attorneys that are not our employees. That's what I have a problem with.
I understand
And
that.
why I'm asking the question and why I asked it during budget time, because this is actually not in this year's budget. This is actually going for next year's budget, which we haven't approved yet. So theoretically, if this item approves, we can't change that funding in our budget for next year.
What I will say is that it is state mandated. It is state mandated and it is state funded. While you are paying the $2 million, that is what is called the local share, and that has not changed since MIDC came into the picture. They have not increased the local share, so that goes back a few years. It has not increased, but the grant funding continues to increase based on need. So they are cognizant of that fact and they are not asking localities to pay any more than they were paying under the prior system prior to MIDC.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So am I understanding correctly that the $185,000 on today's agenda is for calendar year 2024.
So ours go by calendar year and fiscal year, because the state goes by fiscal year. But
So what 12 months is this money for?
this is for October 1 through September 30th, 2023, 2024.
So it started last month.
Yes.
Did we sign a contract with the bar?
It has not been signed yet.
Okay. And do you have any statistics as to how many attorneys take advantage of this and complete the training?
We have approximately 250 attorneys on our roster attorney list. By the end, and their training must be completed by December 31st. Theirs goes by calendar year. And we maintain roughly those 250 attorneys from year to year. So approximately 250 attorneys.
Okay,
take
so
advantage.
a few of them work for the county, but the vast majority of them are in private practice out there.
Correct.
Do we advertise, is this open to any attorney in the county?
No, it is only open to attorneys that take indigent defense cases. They must practice indigent defense.
Okay. And there is no rules or anything that force attorneys or law practices to take indigent?
Correct.
Okay. I think I'm beginning to understand a little better. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. With the vote we just took before, it said there would be no cost to the county, but that was a little different scenario. Secondly, I'm not saying that the attorney should not receive pay. And thirdly, I think the attorneys should be educated. It's always important, of course, as everyone else in their field. And number three, I remember meeting a public defender in my first year as a commissioner. He was all excited. We were at some gathering, and he handed me his card. I said, "Thank you very much." And I looked at his card, and it said Mark Hackle or Executive Hackle on it. And I said, "Oh, I didn't realize that his name would be on that card." But it was, and he said, "Oh, yes." He was all excited about the executive's name on the card and how wonderful he is and everything. And I said, "Well, that's good. That's exciting." And so with that, I'm thinking that maybe the funding should come from the capital fund. I don't know how that could happen, but I wondered about what money's coming out of the general fund, because I don't always get to see that. So I would suggest that this goes to the capital fund, because the public defenders are under the guise of the executive. Thank you, Chair.
Could you address that, our finance man?
They get the grant for this.
As you wish, Chair. I don't believe that it can. The recommendation is based on what's in the budget. So either we would have to amend the budget to make that change, or the executive would have to bring a budget amendment to us.
Okay, thank you. I have Commissioner Lucido, please.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
So my question is so for other district courts throughout the county that are not, that don't utilize Macomb County to like oversee their courts, do they have the same requirements to make sure that their public defenders are
Yes.
trained? So
Yes.
my question is that if they are using the same, some of them use the same list that Macomb County uses?
Yes.
So whose responsibility then does it fall on? Is it those district courts or the county to pay for that training, that updated, education every year to receive that funding? Like who takes the initiative? Because obviously if they're working at 4 different district courts, they're not getting 12 hours for each court.
Correct. They're getting one 12-hour
Yes.
block. But, like I said earlier, it's not restricted. So if someone wants to take 20 hours, they can take 20 hours, and it's still at no cost to them. And it doesn't change the cost of the agreement either. But I can't speak to what other communities are doing necessarily. I can say this is what we are doing, but I will say that the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission requires that each funding unit have what's called a MAC. That is someone who administers their system.
So I was just asking, so you're not necessarily ensuring that all 12, some of those attorneys might have already gotten their training from elsewhere. So
Correct.
it might not be coming through the county.
That is also correct.
And then this is also funded, this is a reimbursement from the state per one we do, that we provide the education for.
Yes.
So if we get funding, if we do 5, we get reimbursed for 5. If we do 10, we get reimbursed for 10.
You get reimbursed for the $185,000.
Okay.
And then it doesn't matter how many.
It doesn't matter how many, it's a standard 185,000, right?
Correct. It's a
Okay.
line item on the grant.
Perfect, that was my question. Thank you.
All set, Commissioner? Commissioners enter in the second round.
Commissioner Sabatini, is it possible to make an amendment so the money that they're requiring would come out of the capital budget?
No,
Mr. Sabatini?
we cannot make that amendment. That would have to come through the county executive. So what this basically, this request or this budget amendment that's being brought to us is taking out a portion of the money that's in their conferences and training line item for this year for 3 months, I believe, and then the difference is in their 2024 budget.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Seeing no other speakers, I have a motion in support. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thanks again, ladies, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Let's move on to item 11, which is public participation. This is a second opportunity for the public to participate, for those who wish to speak on a maximum of 3 minutes on the issue.
Goodness.
Seeing and hearing none, unless we have that gentleman there in the corner with the black suit and black. Mr. Biondo, would you like to speak? Sure. You're all set, okay. Let's close out public participation, and let's go to commissioners' comments. And who would like to speak under commissioners' comments? Commissioner Nard.
Just want to say that we have a new mayor in Warren. Representative Lori Stone is mayor-elect, and I wanted to publicly congratulate her, and I wanted to hope and pray that now that we have a new mayor, that there will be some kind of joining together or attachment to the county now for the city of Warren, which is the largest city in Macomb County. So I'm extending an invitation to her to contact any of us to whatever she needs to make her journey these next 4 years successful, that we would be open to help her in any way that we can. I would like to, spoke with Crystal, I'd like to send a letter of congratulations to her and implement any commissioner's name on there that would like to join me, especially with the board chair and the vice chair, just congratulating her and extending an arm to her from the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Whoop, all of them hands went up. Why you gotta
They're
wait,
on the
Mr. Chair?
list. They're on the electronic list.
Oh, there's a list.
Commissioner Wallace?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to let you know that the parade is coming. The 18th. So I usually give you guys a longer countdown, but Crystal has registered us. She said we will have a car this year. So just get your candy, bundle up, and we will be in Mount Clemens. We won't have to worry about walking too far because we'll be in a car. So just practice throwing the candy really far, because we can't like walk up to the kids. They don't care like if we like get real close with the candy. So just practice throwing it and bundle up because we're going to the parade.
Make sure you have enough liability insurance, so.
Yes. Crystal will let us know what time we're going to meet up and everything, because since she registered us, all the information is going to her. But just bundle up and be ready. Yay!
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hall?
It's always so cold that day. That is the coldest day of the year.
Yeah, it is.
Heated jacket, heated vest, heated gloves, and you still freeze. Just heads up. She mentioned the Mayor Warren. I would like to congratulate my wife on being reelected for her 4th term on the Roseville City Council. She was top vote getter, and yesterday was our 55th wedding anniversary. She gets all the credit for that, too.
It's Jazzy.
You should get a gold star. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
All set.
Yeah.
Chair Brown.
Commissioner Zinner's before me on the list.
Commissioner Zinner?
On the list.
Oh, well, she's on the list, but you gotta go next, Commissioner Zinner.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say, Chair Brown, please get a container with candy canes. You need to have your candy canes set, because you keep forgetting that. I may have to call your wife and remind her. That's probably a better thing to do. I wanted to say that people are promoting pro-life, the pro-life movement, and I, as many other people, hope for the promotion of the right to life for babies and others of any age. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Zinner. Chair Brown?
Thank you. I want to congratulate our commissioners, both Commissioner Mai and Commissioner Nard, for having their names in the ballot and tossed their hat in the ring and represented themselves proudly and distinguishedly throughout the whole campaign. And, you know, we're lucky to have, you know, we're all elected officials. We all run for office, and we're glad to have our commissioners out there, you know, representing their community in an aggressive way. And they did so, you know, proudly and respectfully, and we're glad of that. And so I want to say congratulations. Didn't turn out the way you wished, you know, but, you know, it was still, you have the right to hang your head high in what you've done well. So I appreciate that. Regarding the note, I sent a thank you, had it drafted, I haven't signed it yet, to the people that won the elections. And on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I extended that olive branch to all of them, that on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, you know, we pledged to work with you, and wasn't just to that mayor, but to all elected officials in the county. That we want to work together jointly with them to, you know, move all the citizens forward. So be aware of that. So, and it is going to be cold. Do you have a car or is it a bus?
No, it's a farmer's trailer outside.
Oh, well, that'd be all right.
A what?
I got some straw.
That's what I said.
I didn't ask any details.
Yeah, bring some horses, Doc.
So I
Sure ain't no hayride.
Yeah, it's,
Either way, it will be cold.
it was very cold. You never
Take that to the bank.
Do you think they're going to know us inside of a car?
Well, I guess it's
Chair
like
Brown, are you all set?
top or something. I don't know.
I'm letting it go.
I'm
I did.
bringing it back. You all set?
It's
It'll be
fun. It's fun
convertible.
to talk about.
It'll be convertibles.
I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other commissioners?
Yeah,
Commissioner Van
I could
Sickle,
bring a
wanted to
horse.
speak?
I know people have horses.
I'll pass on this one.
No
Thank
other
you.
Now
commissioners?
that'd be something.
Don's button's stuck on questions.
That's right.
Somebody has to say something.
13, which is a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay.
I need a motion. I see the motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Wallace. Please vote. See we all tomorrow.